Okay. Good evening, Rolling Meadows. This is the January 9th, 2018 City Council meeting. Please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before the clerk calls the roll, we have three aldermen that are absent tonight. Alderman Maciakis, Alderman Diastis, and Tim Veenbos, either between business or family emergency. So will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon.
Here.
Budmats.
Here.
Alderman Maciakis is out. Gallo.
Here.
Banger.
Here.
Alderman Diastis and Alderman Veenbos are out.
With 4 present, we do have and 3 absent, we do have a quorum. The first order of business is to approve the minutes for the December 12th, 2017 meeting from the 2017 Committee of the Whole and December 19th, 2017 Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Mr. Budmats has made it, and it has been seconded. Are there any corrections or deletions to the minutes? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Budmats.
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
Banger.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
With four in favor and unopposed, the minutes are approved. That moves us on to the mayor's report. I would like to thank those of you that came out to the Historical Society on Sunday. They have their open house for members of the community. I believe Alderman Maciakis, myself, Banger were there, and Mr. Banger, I was informed that everyone just was overwhelmed by your discussion about bees and honey. I just want you to know that they are asking that it may become an annual event for you just to come back there and do that. So thank you for attending. Are there any ward reports? Seeing none, this brings us into the signatories for tonight's evening. The council meeting is now open to members of the audience for 20 minutes to address the City Council on matters that are not on the agenda regarding other issues. We ask that persons wishing to address the City Council keep their comments to 5 minutes in length. Comments must be addressed to the Council as a whole through the mayor, and profanity may not be used in any form. Our first and only signatory is Steve Hollis. Good evening, Mr. Hollis.
Good evening. I think I'll make this kind of brief. It's regarding the antenna structures. Basically, it went through the Planning Commission, and it went through the amendment process they suggested that you change it to 45 feet. And I think it was based on making it similar to the small cellular site amendment that's down in the state. And that was already passed by all that make it 45 feet. And that's a good thing. I mean, restrict your utilities and everything else. But reducing a normal cell tower to 45 feet isn't very good for the cellular industry. It's not good for the economics because 2 reasons. They don't get the coverage they really need at 45 feet. And based on my experience putting up cell towers throughout the country, the only time you usually put anything under 75 feet is in clear line of sight. And I did a search on my area. Within a 4-mile radius of my house, there's 91 cell sites. And out of that 91 cell sites, there's only 4 that are only 35 feet. All the rest are in excess of 100 feet, 150 feet. So basically, if you're going to go forward and reduce this to 45 feet, I don't think there's many providers that are going to come through and request a variance because it's just a lot of work and it's not really efficient on their end. What's good about it, if you make it 75 feet, they can put it on top and they're done. if they ask for like 115 feet like the one petitioner did, which I don't think is going to pass anyway, they can also use that for the economic advantage by lowering antennas farther down at, say, 80 feet. That way they not only get the advantage of having good coverage for them, but they also provide access to other people at 80 feet and provides a good economic thing for the city. So I think going forward, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to change it down to 45 feet. It should stay at 75 feet, and if anybody's going to come forward, it'll be very rare because anybody's going to come through and want a variance for over 75 feet anyway. That's all I got. Thank you.
And I thank you for coming forward this evening. That brings us into ordinances for the second reading. Ordinance A is to amend the city code for small cell antenna tower right-of-way sitting ordinance. This ordinance, if adopted, would provide the city with control of these small cell towers within the limitations imposed by the pending legislation. This ordinance can be amended in the future depending on the outcome of the pending legislation. In the meantime, the city would have regulations in place. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved.
Mr. Banger has made it. Is it our second? It has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Cannon.
Mr. Mayor, I was under the impression that this rule or law was already passed by the state Senate. Is that true or not true? Do you know?
I'm going to let Mr. McCall, since he's been handling this for the city.
I don't. It was up for discussion. It was to be up for action sometime this spring. I don't know that it's passed. This is pending legislation when we drafted this ordinance.
Oh, because I was told that it would pass in December. I must have got bad information then.
Maybe I got bad information, and maybe it did pass in December. If it did pass in December, this ordinance is formatted based on what was passed.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll then?
Gallo,
Yes.
Banger,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Budmats,
Yes.
With 4 in favor and none opposed, the ordinance does pass. Ordinance B is to approve a text amendment modifying notifications requirements for public hearings. This ordinance, if adopted, would require signatures to be posted for all signage to be posted for all public hearings being requested. These signs would be created and mounted by the Public Works and be available to petitioners for a $100 fee, refundable once the sign is returned in acceptable conditions to Public Works. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance? Mr. Cannon has made that motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Banger,
Yes.
Cannon,
Yes.
Budmats,
Yes.
Gallo.
Yes.
4 in favor and 0 opposed. That does pass. Ordinance C is to amend the City of Rolling Meadows personal rules and regulations with respect to its policy against discrimination and harassment, including sexual harassment. Public Act 100-0554 was signed by Governor Rauner and became law on November 16th. This act amends the State Officials and Employees Ethics Act, including Section 70-5, which pertains to government entities. For municipalities, the law requires each entity to adopt an ordinance or resolution establishing a policy to prohibit sexual harassment within 60 days of the new law or by January 16, 2018. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance? Mr. Banger has made it, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Cannon,
Yes.
Budmats,
Yes.
Gallo,
Yes.
Banger.
Yes.
With 4 in favor and none opposed, that ordinance does pass. This brings us to Ordinance D. Designate an area in the City of Rolling Meadows as a conservation area and in need of renewal. This ordinance, if adopted, would designate the property commonly known as 2550 Gulf Road, Rolling Meadows, Illinois, a conservation area which will support the property owner's Class 7B tax incentive to be filed with the property owner's Class 7B tax incentive application. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance? Mr. Cannon has made it, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Budmats?
Yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
With 4 in favor and none opposed, this ordinance is adopted. This brings us to the consent ordinances. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda for ordinances, it consists of 4 items, E through H. Does any alderman wish to have an item from the consent agenda ordinances removed? Mr. Cannon.
E and G.
Okay. Anything? The chair declares that it to be one motion that F and H should be considered as one ordinance. In this debate, is there such a motion? Mr. Budmats has made it, and it has been seconded. Ordinance F, amend code to allow the city manager to sign documents. This ordinance, if adopted, would allow the city manager to execute on behalf of the city certain contracts for entertainment, equipment, and supplies for community events, along with contracts where the amount to be paid by the city is less than $10,000. H, amend the city code with respect to its policy against discrimination and harassment, including sexual harassment for elected officials and commission members. Staff was requested at the last city council meeting to draft a discrimination and harassment policy, including sexual harassment, which would be applicable to elected and appointed officials of the city. This ordinance will serve that purpose to apply to elected and appointed officials. The clerk, please call the roll.
Gallo?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Budmats?
Yes.
With 4 in favor and none opposed, that ordinance moves forward. This brings us to ordinance E, to amend the comprehensive zoning code. This ordinance, if adopted, would reduce the height of both commercial and non-commercial antennas in the city from the current permitted height of 75 feet to 45 feet. This matter was presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission at its December 5th, 2017 meeting and continued to its December 20th, 2017 meeting. At its meeting held on December 20th, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 5-3 with 1 absent to approve the ordinance reducing the permitted height of telecommunication antennas towers to 45 feet. Do we have a motion? Mr. Baner has made it. It has been seconded. Mr. Cannon, you have come forward with this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will not support this because I think it's anti-business. I think we just heard a resident who's been in the cell industry, who's done a lot of research on this, and even by without getting into it real heavy, the information he's come forward with. I think it should alarm us a little bit that we're willing to change the whole ordinance to make it less attractive for people to build these when we have 90 plus of them just in one part of the city that are all above this size. I talked to another gentleman who's also actually that builds cell towers currently, and his take on it, he said, you know what, it's not the end of the world. He said, I think a lot of people will come to your town, and because they see the restrictions you've placed on them, they won't even pursue going forward with it. I just really feel like after we just got done doing our survey just a few months ago about being cooperative with business and making us an easier town to do business with, this just seems completely counterproductive to that. So I will not be supporting this tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Cannon. Any further discussion? Mr. Baner.
Thank you. I completely agree with Alderman Cannon, so I will also be voting no on this.
Thank you. Any further? Mr. Gallo.
And I also agree with that sentiment and the fact that the industry has done a good job at setting the standards for the range of height, which is effective and appropriate for communications to incur. So I will also be voting no.
Thank you. Any further comments? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Baner?
No.
Cannon?
No.
Budmats?
No.
Gallo?
No.
With none for and 4 against, it does fail. This brings us to Ordinance G, to approve a text amendment to zoning code to allow small private lending libraries in the front yard. This ordinance, if adopted, would amend the zoning code to permit the libraries with certain restrictions, most importantly, not allowing them in the public right-of-way or in public utility easements, some size restrictions and requirements of a permit to enforce placement and construction. At its meeting held on Tuesday, December 5th, 2017, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 8-1 to approve the ordinance regarding allowing small private lending libraries in the front yard. Do I have a motion? Mr. Banger has made it. Do I have a second? It has been seconded. Mr. Cannon?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't really know a lot about these. I've talked to a couple people who are more knowledgeable than I am. I guess I asked the question, are we overkilling on something that people have a really good intention of what they're doing? I think we only have 2 of these structures up right now, and the third person who brought this forward is the reason why this is before us. I don't think we're going to have dozens of these around town. I think the people who have built them have been very caring about the way they've built them. I just really don't see the need for us to start regulating these things and getting all kinds of ordinances and fee structures and permits and inspections. I just think it's more than what we need to do. I think all the people who have come forward to do this really have good intentions, and I think we're just overkilling something that doesn't need to be overkilled. Thanks for listening to my thoughts.
Any other thoughts? Mr. Banger?
Thank you. I guess I might be an expert on these. I have one in front of my house, and I also installed one at the community garden, and I think they've been up for almost a year now. There's been a fantastic response from both my neighborhood and the community garden members, and actually folks walking past. We have a lot of magazines in those, so I've talked to some passers-by who said they took magazines, clipped pictures out of them, and then put them back in there. They just make scrapbooks, apparently. So I've had no problem with the 2 I have, and I think it's a great thing that we should encourage. I'll plug the Rolling Meadows Public Library. They have a book in their collection that is a collection of pictures and stories about free little libraries. And I would recommend anybody who wants design ideas or just to see what those are all about to check that title out. What I would suggest, this reminded me of the backyard beekeeping law, which was too much of a law. And so when I got involved with taking another crack at that, I insisted that there be a nominal permit fee if we were going to permit those. And also I didn't want inspections. That's certainly, especially with beehives, that's certainly not part of the city inspector's job description. So I would like to make a motion to amend this. I'm fine with the permitting process. And I'll even buy into that because some people would probably sink these 4 feet in the ground and cut through a fiber optics line. So if the city has some guidelines that is part of the permitting process, I'm super cool with that. I do not want a permit fee. I don't want to hamper this in any way, shape, or form. And I also do not want our city inspectors spending time looking at these things. The guidelines that can be issued by the city when the permit is issued can spell out the few things that we should adhere to, which is get it off the sidewalk on your own property and don't sink it in the ground unless you have 1 calls done. So I would like to make a motion to strike or zero out the permit fee, and I would also like to on Section 4, it's going to require a building permit review and inspection. I'd like to strike the inspection portion of that.
Okay, do we have a second to Mr. Banger? Oh, no, Mr. McCall.
I'm sorry. Can we clarify exactly what your motion was?
My motion is $0 for a permit fee. And I'm not even sure if is that
it's not
in the text. Okay,
it's not.
And for number 4, installing such structures shall require a building permit review and inspection. I want to strike that inspection portion.
Okay. I apologize. I just want to make sure I understood what your motion was. Okay.
Are we
Thank you.
clarified? Do we have a second? Mr. Cannon has seconded. Any other further discussion? Mr. Gallo.
I have a quick question, Alderman Banjer. Maybe you can help me with this, and even Director Vogt. Do we have to apply for a permit when we're putting a new mailbox in our yard? By chance, is that something that we would have to apply for? And are these similar to a mailbox?
I think Mr. Vogt, please.
My understanding is if it's just a standard mailbox with a 4x4 post, the answer is no. If it's any type of a structure beyond that, then the answer is yes.
Okay. So just a standard mailbox. Are these lending libraries just a standard 4x4 post in most cases, or are they something different?
In most cases, for example, my free little library at the community garden is sunk in the ground. My free little library in front of my house is on a pedestal. I didn't want to sink it in the ground. And there can be a variety. This actually has specified guidelines for minimum and maximum height, which is fine. It's low enough for little kids and not too high for them not to be able to reach. So I'm fine with everything else about this. Just in any talk of permit fees and inspections, I don't think are necessary.
Okay, thank you. I would hate to see this be a bottleneck in the community development department to sink a 4x4 post if we wouldn't have to do the same for a mailbox.
Okay. Mr. Kraustock?
The one thing that I would mention is obviously we have a good tenant of the little libraries, but he actually did Julie locates, and that's one of our bigger concerns that we have. So good tenant, good builder, but other people, this just makes sure that we're following the rules and we're not hitting anything. So specifically, yes, we do have some mailboxes that go in, but typically, not always, there's going to be a Julie locate. This is one more reason why we really want people to come in for the permit.
Okay. Mr. Vogt, please.
And if I could point out to council, staff's interpretation of the code right now being silent is that these accessory structures would not be allowed. So I would encourage, regardless of whatever the consideration is with regards to permits or fees or inspections and the like, that if you're in support of allowing these in people's yards, that you would approve the ordinance in kind as presented so that the code can be amended to allow them.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion on the Mr. McCall, are we good? I can call for a vote on this now?
Vote on the amendment.
Okay. Clerk, please call the roll on the amendment.
Cannon?
Yes.
Bud Matts?
Yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
Banjer?
Yes.
With 4 in favor and none opposed, this will now vote on. We need a motion to vote. We need a motion on the amended small libraries ordinance. Do I have such one? Mr. Banjer has made it. Mr. Cannon has seconded. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bud Matts?
Yes.
Gallo?
Yes.
Banjer?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
4 in favor, none opposed. That does pass. This brings us to the council to new business. The motion is to approve the payment of bills on warrants 19-18. The items of business is a motion to approve the warrant from January 19th, 2018 as presented by the Finance Department. Is there a motion to approve the warrant?
So moved.
Mr. Banjer has made it. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Gallo?
Yes.
Banjer?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Bud Matts?
Yes.
With 4 in favor and none opposed, the warrant has been approved. This now brings us to the consent resolution. That consists of items J through O. I'm going to pull N because I am told that it needs some more polishing. So that will give us. Does anyone else wish to have any other consent resolution pulled? That gives us resolutions J, K, L, and O to declare in one motion to consider all 5 resolutions. Is there such a motion? Mr. Bud Matts has made it. Has it been seconded? The question is, shall all 6 resolutions be adopted? Resolution J. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the purchase of a 2017 Pierce Velocity 107-foot extension aerial fire apparatus. This is a scheduled replacement of the Rolling Meadows Fire Department Fire Quint 611, which was purchased in 1989 and has been scheduled for replacement in 2019, according to the fire department's 20-year vehicle replacement plan. This replacement has been reviewed and accepted by the city's Vehicle Replacement Committee. In addition, the city's motor pool has also provided feedback and approved of this purchase. Resolution K, approve the ambulance purchase. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the purchase of a 2018 Ford F-650 4x2 chassis Horton conversion ambulance. This is a scheduled replacement of a Rolling Meadows Fire Department Ambulance 625, which was purchased in 2002 and currently has mileage of approximately 80,140 miles and engine hour uses of 11,629 hours. This vehicle is scheduled for replacement in 2018, according to the fire department's 20-year vehicle replacement plan, which has been reviewed and accepted by the city's Vehicle Replacement Committee. L, resolution number 18-R-03, approve the power load and power cot assembly for ambulance. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the purchase of an Enex inline ambulance cot, the matching inline 95 floor mounting and shipping. A similar resolution, 17-R-118, was passed on October 10th, 2017 for this identical piece of equipment. M, resolution number 18-R-04, award a contract for the 2018 sanitary sewer rehabilitation engineering. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the award of a professional service contract for the engineering, design, and inspection services for the 2018 sanitary sewer and storm sewer rehabilitation program. O, resolution number 18-906, award a contract for traffic signal maintenance for 2018. This resolution, if adopted, would authorize the approval of a traffic signal and emergency vehicle preemption system, Opticom, maintenance contract for 2018. Again, the question is, shall all five of the resolution be adopted? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Baner.
Yes.
Cannon.
Yes.
Bud Matts.
Yes.
Gallup.
Yes.
With 4 in favor and none opposed, they move forward. This brings the council to other businesses and reports. I have no appointments. Do I have proclamation?
No.
Okay. And I have no proclamations. Does the clerk have a report?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. This now brings us to the staff reports. The community items of interest. Mr. Comstock.
Thank you very much, Mayor and City Council. We'll try making this as quick as possible. We want to thank everybody who donated at the December 19th City Blood Drive. We do want to thank Myers Papas Varios for donating gift cards for the winners of the 4th Annual Police Department Social Media Holiday House Contest campaign. Try saying that really quick. The winners for this year were 3603 Bob White Lane, 3504 Piper Court, 2102 Foley Street. First runner-up was 3702 Meadow Drive. The second runner-up was 2203 Cardinal Drive. And pictures of the homes are actually on the police department Facebook page. When you print them out, they still look nice. But we do appreciate Sergeant Manfredi and the full police department led by Chief Nowacki, who actually distributed all that to everybody who participated. Obviously, City Hall will be closed on Martin Luther King Jr. holiday on Monday, January 15th. There will be regular refuse and recycling collection on that day and throughout the week. So for this holiday, it's regular all the way. We do want to mention to people that Public Works will be providing Christmas tree pickup through the end of this week. Obviously, we did last week and then this week. So if you do have a Christmas tree, residents should remove lights, tinsel, and ornaments and place the tree at the curb, the cut end side facing the street, and with your regular refuse pickup. And finally, on the sheet, and I got one to add on, The City, Swank, and Elgin Recycling are conducting the Holiday Light Recycling Program. It goes all the way until February 16th of this year. The 2 boxes are outside of City Hall, and obviously Elgin Recycling does come here regularly and does dump them when they are completely full. The item that I do want to add, which is not on the sheet, we do want to thank Joanne Fitch for 21 plus years of service. She is retiring. She asked for no proclamation, so that's why you don't have a proclamation. But from city staff, we do appreciate all of her service and obviously throughout all the work that she did in Public Works. So those are the items to mention, and congratulations on retirement to Joanne Fitch.
Thank you. That brings us presentation of the January 16th, 2018 Committee of the Whole agenda.
Thank you very much. It does look long, but we shall see how each one of these go. But right now we have a discussion about a billboard over a operational business. We've already had this discussion once before, so for certain members, this will be a new discussion, a new approach for that billboard in that area. Obviously, we've had some conversations, but there will be another conversation about the council chambers. We will have a person here for that. Then, obviously, through the newspaper, more and more municipalities have been increasing their ambulance billing, and we will be having a discussion about that. Obviously, Chief Valentino might have some additional people with him, too. See, he brought up backup today. But we'll also have some revenue discussion. I know with certain aldermen, we've had some what else is out there. Can we discuss some of the other items? So another discussion that we'll be having is revenue overhaul that we have not instituted that many of our neighbors do have in place, and they deal with natural gas tax and the video gaming. And then obviously the last one that we will have is the final discussion with the AAB, the final report, how much those little bugs, I didn't call them buggers, actually have cost the city of Rolling Meadows. And as you know from many newspaper articles, it's just not Rolling Meadows, and we do appreciate the council allowing us to do it over phases and over the years, but we are done with our EABs, except for the few that we're still treating. But that is what we have scheduled for that night at this point in time. It's 5 items. But again, we have them ready at this point in time, and we do have individuals coming in for certain of them, too. So that is what we have for the Committee of the Whole coming up for next week.
Thank you, Barry. That brings us to matters not on the agenda. I only have one. Chief, were you able to get an answer? I'm sorry for the late. I did get some calls from some seniors later this afternoon or today. They were concerned that the police cards they put on their rear view windows, the handicap cards, what if they fell off but they were still on the dashboard, or if they're not on the dashboard, they had heard that we would ticket them if they weren't on the rear view mirror. So, Chief.
Yes, Mayor. There are 2 locations that are There are 2 locations that are acceptable to hang the handicap placard. One is the rear view mirror, and you could also place it on the dashboard. So those 2 locations are acceptable. I do recommend, however, that motorists do hang them on the rear view mirror when they're parking their car. It's easier for us to see when we do enforcement. That way it allows us to check the lots a little bit quicker. But both locations are acceptable and within compliance with the Illinois Vehicle Code.
Thank you, Chief. We appreciate it. Are there any other matters not on the agenda? Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a quick question, since we're well represented by Public Works here tonight. I was just wondering, I think there's 2 of you. Rob's looking away. He's scared. He's afraid of what I'm going to ask him. No, I'm not looking for a loan, Rob. I was wondering if you guys could just assure us that we're moving forward with engineering on streets, so we're ready to go for bidding soon.
My understanding is that we're meeting with the engineer, We'll be having another meeting next week with them, and can certainly give you an update in terms of where we are, but our target is still to have the plans and specs complete by the end of January and have that out for bid at some point in February with a bid opening in March.
Great. I guess the sister question to that is, do we have, just in case we can come up with some extra money somewhere, unlikely but possible, do we have some backup streets to do further if we can?
We've included that at this point, just almost because it fell into our lap in terms of doing the estimates, doing the field survey. So there is a backup plan, so to speak, that if we do have favorable bids to the point where we would look to add, we have candidates to add.
Wonderful, great. Unless, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to, going forward, I know we have a number of important issues that are going to be coming up in front of the council soon. I just wanted to forewarn the council, I'm going to be gone on the February 13th meeting, so I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Banger, you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I'd like to formally ask that we get a discussion on the cow agenda at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later, about Old Public Works. We're going to be going to the bond market soon for a couple fire stations. And I think now's the time. We've been talking about this building for the 6 years I've been on council. It hasn't gotten any better, and we've deferred most of the big ticket items for maintenance. My feeling all along has been tear down and replace, or relocate that and build anew. But I'd like to get that in front of the council as soon as it can be put on a cow agenda. FYI, Barry. Number two. I'm going to be submitting reports to the council probably in the next couple weeks. Our first year of beekeeping is backyard beekeeping since we passed that ordinance last year is over. For me, my 6 beehives all ended miserably dead, but I'm a better beekeeper as a result. And I'll just give some details about how the first year went and what it's shaping up to be next year. Also, we're entering our 4th year of the Rolling Meadows Community Garden. I'm also going to try to cook up, and probably with the help of my daughter, submit a report to you about that. And then finally, this is fair warning, after I get my fuzzy chicks in a row, I'm going to be submitting another request to either talk about or just get some ordinance in front of us for backyard chickens, and my timing will be over the winter so I can put in my spring chick order. And I'm going to have some residents who actually have been wanting this for some time and want to talk to us about that as well. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Will you be coming forward with a honey tax and an egg tax next week?
Well, no more taxes.
Any other aldermen not on the agenda? We were scheduled to go into closed session tonight. I'm pulling that since we have 3 out of the 7 aldermen are absent tonight for various reasons. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Made it a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?